Oh, fake news, CNN? Oh, yeah, here we go. Wait till you hear this question. You should really say how great our soldiers and our warriors are.
I think everyone appreciates our soldiers and our warriors. I do have two questions for you, Mr. President. You just cited Israeli intelligence on these attacks. Earlier, you said U.S. intelligence was inconclusive. Are you relying on Israeli intelligence for your assessment of the impact of the strikes?
No, this is also Iran made the statement. And it's also, if you read the document that was given, that we can talk about if you'd like, the document said it could be very severe damage. But they didn't take that. They said it could be limited or it could be very severe. They really didn't know, other than to say
Donald Trump just gave what might be the most disastrous press conference we have ever seen from him, which is a high or low bar to clear, considering how many insane ones he's had in the past. But at the NATO summit, Donald Trump is clearly showing off his pudding brain to the entire world, melting down by not just attacking news outlets, world leaders, individual reporters, but attacking countries. Yes, he's attacking countries, and he was laughed at for it. We're going to get into it all. But first, I want to start with the most important question he was asked about the war in Ukraine and a possible ceasefire. And of course, his answer was idiotic.
Mr. President, Johannes Petra from Austrian National Television.
How are you?
You once said that you would end the Ukraine war in 24 hours. You later said that sarcastically.
Well, of course it was sarcastic.
But you've now been in office for 5 months and 5 days. Why have you not been able to end the Ukraine war?
Because it's more difficult than people would have any idea. Vladimir Putin has been more difficult. Frankly, I had some problems with Zelensky. You may have read about him. And it's been more difficult than other wars. I mean, look, we just ended a war in 12 days that was simmering for 30 years, frankly. We ended Rwanda and the Congo. It's coming to sign the documents. We've already signed basic documents, but they're coming, I think, to the White House on Friday. We ended Serbia was going to go at it. But maybe the most important of all, India and Pakistan. And that wasn't whether or not they may someday have nukes like we're talking about in the Middle East, like we're talking about with Israel and Iran. This is they have nuclear weapons. I ended that with a series of phone calls on trade. I said, look, if you're going to go fighting each other, it was getting very bad. You know how bad that last attack was. It was really bad. If you're going to go fighting each other, we're not doing any trade deal. No, you have to do a trade deal. I said, we're not doing any trade deal. And in fact, I had the general, who was very impressive. The general from Pakistan was in my office last week. You know, Prime Minister Modi is a great friend of mine. He's a great gentleman. He's a great man. And I got them to reason. I said, we're not doing a trade deal if you're going to fight. And if you're going to fight each other, we're not doing a trade deal. And you know what? They said, no, I want to do the trade deal. We stopped the nuclear war. Go ahead.
Donald Trump saying, it's a lot harder than I would have thought, shows what is the core of his presidency, that he just doesn't take anything seriously, and he doesn't really care, and he doesn't really know or understand, and he doesn't seek to, and he hasn't surrounded himself with any people who could inform him of the difficulty of governing. He just goes and was like, well, make a deal. It'll be great. Because he thinks it's a joke. He does not treat this seriously. He does not treat you or your problems seriously. He just doesn't care. He'll say whatever and do whatever. And of course we know this, but it's increasingly gotten scary as Donald Trump brings us into global conflict. And what he said in this clip right here should really worry us.
I have, as you know, Marco Rubio with me and Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State and Secretary of War. Should we say Secretary? You know, it used to be called Secretary of War. Maybe for a couple of weeks we'll call it that because we feel like warriors. It used to be called Secretary of War. In fact, if you look at the old building next to the White House, you can see where it used to be Secretary of War. Then we became politically correct and they called it Secretary of Defense. I don't know, maybe we'll have to start thinking about changing it, but we feel that way. Do we have any questions, please?
So are we going to war? Why do I have to ask this question? Donald Trump started with no new wars. Then we went to, well, no, just a quick little war. And then it was, well, that's war's over. But now we want regime change. But now we don't. And Iran is glorious. But now we are actually going back. As Trump was posting Bomb Iran to the tune of Barbara Ann by the Beach Boys last night on Truth Social at 4 new in the morning. How is this? Our president. Are we serious? Oh my gosh. And it only got worse when Donald Trump was asked a question about his trade war. So different war. Same idiot president. He was laughed at about what he said about Spain. Just take a look.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah.
A question on Spain. Are you satisfied with today?
Oh, I think Spain's terrible what they've done. No, I do. They're the only country that won't pay the full up. They want to stay at 2%. I think it's terrible. And, you know, they're doing very well. The economy is very well. And that economy could be blown right out of the water with something bad happening. You know, Spain is the only country that... Are you from Spain?
Yeah.
Good, congratulations. You're the only country that is not paying. I don't know what the problem is. I think it's too bad. So we'll make it up. You know what we're going to do? We're negotiating with Spain on a trade deal. We're going to make them pay twice as much. And I'm actually serious about that. We're going to make Spain... I like Spain. I have so many people from Spain that it's a great place and they're great people. But Spain is the only country out of all of the countries that refuses to pay. And, you know, so they want a little bit of a free ride. But they'll have to pay it back to us on trade because I'm not going to let that happen. It's unfair. It's unfair to NATO. All right, sir, please. Go ahead.
So first you can hear the laughs in the crowd when he's like, well, I hate Spain. Spain is terrible. And everyone's like, what is he saying? This is just like an idiotic thing to do. And then he says to the reporter, of course, as we saw, like, congratulations on being from Spain. I think they can all just tell how clearly out of it he is. And of course, that continued as Donald Trump got to attack his favorite target. And that was Caitlin Collins. Of course, take a look.
Oh, fake news, CNN? Oh, yeah, here we go. Wait till you hear this question. You should really say how great our soldiers and our warriors are.
I think everyone appreciates our soldiers and our warriors. I do have two questions for you, Mr. President. You just cited Israeli intelligence on these attacks. Earlier, you said U.S. intelligence was inconclusive. Are you relying on Israeli intelligence for your assessment of the impact of the strikes?
No, this is also Iran made the statement. And it's also, if you read the document that was given that Pete can talk about if you'd like, the document said it could be very severe damage. But they didn't take that. They said it could be limited or it could be very severe. They really didn't know other than to say it could be limited or it could be very, very severe. And you didn't choose to put that because it was very early after. Since then, we've collected additional intelligence. We've also spoken to people who have seen the site, and the site is obliterated. And we think everything nuclear is down there. They didn't take it out. Okay.
What are we doing at this point? Like, I know I keep saying this, but like, honestly, what are we doing? What is happening? Because I truly do not know. I am concerned. I am confused. Clearly, so is our pudding brain president. I just keep coming back to that line. And it didn't stop there because angry Trump, who went on a whole host of attacks, so you're going to want to stick around for those, but decided he'd go off on CNN again.
Did very bad, demeaned by fake news CNN, which is back there, believe it or not, wasting time, nobody's watching them, so they're just wasting a lot of time, wasting my time. And the New York Times, they put out a story that, well, maybe they were hit, but it wasn't bad. Well, it was so bad that they ended the war. It ended the war. Somebody said in a certain way, you know, that it was so devastating, actually. If you look at Hiroshima, if you look at Nagasaki, you know, that ended a war too. This ended a war in a different way, but it was so devastating. Also, they have, out of Dubai, just came that Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, this is Iran's foreign ministry, says its nuclear installations were very badly damaged by the American strike. So what bothered me about these reports with fake reports put out by the New York Times, I call it the failing New York Times because it's doing terribly. Without me, it would be doing no business at all. But, and by fake news, CNN and MSDNC, all of these terrible people, you know, they have no credibility. You know, when I started, they were at 94% credibility, the media. Now it's at 16%. And I'm very proud of it because I've exposed it for what it is. But when I saw them starting to question the caliber of the attack, was it bad? Well, it was really bad. It was devastating. They were obliterated. In fact, you can't get into the tunnels. They just put that over. That just came out. They can't. There's nothing. There's no way you can even get down. The whole thing is collapsed in a disaster.
I really, at this point, don't even know what to say because he's at the NATO summit and he's focused on CNN. He's focused on CNN again, doing accurate reporting from his Pentagon. And he wants to say that this intelligence, oh, well, it's not true. It's fake. It's bad. It was wrong. Why was it marked top secret? Then why was it so unfortunate? Why was there such a panic when it was leaked? Maybe because it was right. Maybe because you're wrong. But again, his focus is on everything but what it actually should be. Doing the job of president, which he is incapable of. And when he was asked about an actual leader who's trying to do his job, President Zelensky, take a look at what he had to say.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes. Mr. President, Netherlands TV, thank you for visiting our country.
Good.
As I understood, I, of course, would like to know how you slept last night at the House of the King.
Oh, I slept beautifully.
But probably a more serious question. I think you just had a meeting with President Zelensky. Did you discuss any ceasefire in this Russo-Ukrainian war?
No, I wanted to know how he's doing. He was very nice, actually. You know, we had little rough times sometimes. He was, couldn't have been nicer. I think he'd like to see an end to this. I do. I think what I took from the meeting couldn't have been nicer, actually. But I took from the meeting that he'd like to see it end. I think it's a great time to end it. I'm going to speak to Vladimir Putin, see if we can get it ended. But look, these are brave people. They're fighting these wars all over the place. You know, last week they had, I guess, I told you, close to 7,000 young soldiers, Russian and Ukrainian soldiers were killed, 7,000 in 1 week. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I'll be speaking to Putin. No, I had a good meeting with Zelensky, and I had a lot of good meetings. We had a lot of good meetings with a lot of people, a lot of great leaders. But he's fighting a brave battle. It's a tough battle.
Oh my gosh, this just continues to get worse. It just continues to get worse. You're not discussing it. You're going to listen to what your daddy Putin says. You're going to wait on him. Does he think that? Does he think that he's projecting strength in any way? Does he understand how embarrassing this all is? I really don't know at this point. And it seems like he doesn't either. He just wants to, vent an error. His grievances is always the case because the baby's got to whine, but he started attacking the Fed chair. Jerome Powell, just take a look. Take a look at how angry he's gotten.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. You were criticizing
Where are you from?
Bloomberg News.
Oh, Bloomberg. That's wonderful.
You were criticizing the Federal Reserve Chair before coming to this summit.
Yeah, I think he's terrible.
I was wondering if you've begun interviewing different candidates for the Fed pick.
Yeah, I know within 3 or 4 people who are going to pick. I mean, he goes up pretty soon, fortunately, because I think he's terrible. We have no inflation. We have a tremendous economy. Hundreds of billions of dollars of tariff money is pouring in. Factories are being built because they don't want to pay the tariffs, so they're building them all over the country. I think we're close to $15 trillion. I told you $5.1 trillion from the Middle East alone, but of investment money coming in. There's never been anything like that in the history of our country. But we have no inflation. And we have borrowing because Biden, stupidly, they did short-term debt. So we have borrowing coming up. And, we'll go 10 years, maybe longer, maybe shorter, but we'll go a long period of time when we do the debt. And because of him, because of this guy, we will have to pay for years. We'll be paying for him. And I said to him, listen, there's no inflation. He says, but maybe there'll be some. That's true. I said, if there is some, what you do is raise the rate. I'm okay with that. You raise the rate in 2 years from now or a year from now. But because the rate's high, we have to pay more for debt. It's pretty equal. In other words, if it's 4%, it's 4%. If you drop it a point, you'll pay 3%. So it's fairly equal, not necessarily, but fairly equal. So we're going to end up paying maybe 2 points or 3 points more. 3 points would be about $900 billion a year because of this very average mentally person. He's an average mentally person. I'd say low in terms of what he does, low. Low IQ for what he does, okay? Wait, so instead of paying $900 billion, we don't want to pay 900 just because he doesn't want to lower the rate. I said, if there's inflation in 2 years or 3 years or 1 year from now, you raise the rate and you take care of the inflation, among other things. But he's probably a very political guy, I guess. I don't know. I think he's a very stupid person, actually. All right, one more. Let's go. How about you? Go ahead. She looks so happy and everything.
Thank you.
So I picked
This is just straight up idiotic. I have no other way to term it. This is insane. He's lost his mind. The pudding brain is on full display. I don't know what to say. This is crazy, and it's just getting worse. But we're going to keep covering it on this show. And if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.